Connecting the Youth, Shaping Our Future. May I please request Dr. Ram Madhav, President India Foundation, to come up on the dais. And we may also request our young MPs, Shri GM Harish Balayogi, Shri Yaduvir Vadiyar, and Dr. Hemang Joshi to come on the stage. The session will be chaired by Dr. Ram Madhav, President India Foundation. I may now request him to conduct the session. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Trishla. So, friends, if you all settle down, we will start this very interesting and engaging session about Indian polity. Not politics, it's about polity. We have with us three prominent but young faces from the Indian Parliament, especially from the lower house, which is called the Lok Sabha. Lok Sabha in India, the lower house, is a 542 member strong house, and all the members are directly elected by the electorate. It's a direct election, very competitive election. India has hundreds of political parties, about 40 are registered parties. So people compete and win the election to reach the house. We have three such young members who got elected by people who secured, in India, each electoral constituency has 1 million, 2 million voters. In fact, in one case, we have one constituency whose number of voters is 3.3 million. I mean, half the entire population of Singapore is one constituency in India. So that's the kind of constituencies where leaders compete and get elected. And as I said, it's a testimony to India's democratic vibrance. I mean, there was a quick introduction about all three, but I introduce them to you in a slightly different way so that you will appreciate the vibrancy and richness of Indian polity. To my extreme left is Mr. Yaduvir Vadiyar. Yaduvir ji is, of course, he graduated from the US, University of Massachusetts, in economics, but he comes from a royal family. His father and his ancestors, they were royals in South India, a kingdom called the Mysuru Royal Kingdom. So he comes from that lineage. So for him, leadership is natural. He comes from a royal leadership. But he contested the elections for the first time in Mysuru, worked very hard, and secured victory, and today he is in the lower house in the Lok Sabha. To my left is Hemang. Hemang comes from a humble background, normal Karyakarta background, and he is a party activist. As a party activist, he got the opportunity to contest elections. He also did the same hard work as Yaduvirji did, and he got elected with a record margin. If I may say, his electoral majority is more than 500,000 votes. That is majority. So he, as an ordinary party activist, he rose to become an MP in our parliament This is another facet of our parliament. And to my right is Harish. Harish is also a graduate in management, and Hemang is a postgraduate in human resources management. And Harish, again, a young man contested for the first time and got elected. In India, we have a system which can be called a kind of an affirmative action, meaning all sections of the society should get representation in the parliament. So in India, we have constituencies reserved for scheduled caste sections, scheduled tribe sections. He contested from one scheduled caste constituency and he got elected from that constituency. He represents that constituency in Indian parliament. So this gives a rainbow understanding about how Indian parliament is. So we are fortunate to have right from erstwhile royal families to activist, party activist families to socially empowered sections of our society. All sections are represented in Indian parliament. That is the greatness of India's democracy. So we are lucky to have 3 such young parliamentarians. By the way, I am using young because in Indian parliament, today out of 542 MPs, we have about 60 who can be called young. In India, young ka definition something is different. At 55 also some leaders carry on as youngsters. But that's not the definition we are taking. About 35 years and below. We are 60 members of parliament and these 3 represent that group. All 3 are 33, 34-year-old. And we are so proud of our young MPs. They have great future. So this session will be very interesting because those youngsters will share their political experiences with you. And afterwards, they will be open to discussing with you or share with you more about how Indian politics functions, how Indian democracy functions. It's a very non-partisan session. They represent different parties. I'm not getting into party issues, but we have 3 bright youngsters, members of parliament with us. Morning, I mentioned one more thing to you. Hemang is an alumni of this Asean India Youth Summit also. A few years ago, he was a participant in this session, and today he rose to become a member of parliament. So with that brief introduction, I have requested all 3 to make some opening comments, which they will do one by one. Afterwards, we will open this session for your questions and interaction. May I start with Harishi? Yahan ya wahan?
Okay. A very good evening to everyone. Firstly, I would thank Madhavji and the rest of the team of the India Foundation for giving me the opportunity to be part of this panel at the Asian Indian Youth Summit. As a young first-time parliamentarian, much like my fellow panelists, it gives me immense pleasure to be able to be here and to interact with all young and eager minds. Our youth are our nation's greatest asset. With nearly 65% of our people under the age of 30, it gives me immense pleasure and to interact with all young. Our youth, with nearly 65, home to the populations in the world. This is not only across Asian nations too, 1/3 of the population is below the age of 20. This is a great demographic dividend, a large energetic workforce ready to. Our young people bring innovation, energy, and fresh ideas in every field, from technology and business to education and social service. As our Prime Minister Narendra Modi ji said, we should motivate especially young minds to realize our nation's dream of a developed nation. According to the official estimates, there are more than 371 million youth under the age group of 15 to 29 years in India, making it one of the largest youth population on the planet. By contrast, many European countries have far higher median age, often in the 40s, reflecting older population. Having such young population means that our country has enormous potential that is waiting, itching, and eagerly waiting to work. With the advent of technology and modern day internet, our youth today has increasingly well educated and connected. There are tech savvy and entrepreneurs with some of the India's booming startups have quite young founders, even younger than me. I would like to reference to Mr. Pavan Guntupalli, who's founded Rapido after facing multiple rejections. Stands as a proof of how resilience and visionary leadership, encouraged by the support of leaders like my Chief Minister of Andhra Pradesh, Shri Nara Chandrababu Naidu Garu, can transform youthful ideas into enterprises. Today, our youth are making their mark across all fields, be it science, sports, arts, or social causes. They're working on cutting-edge research, winning international prizes, and leading social movements. Whether it's a startup transforming education, a student tackling pollution, or a young research advancing healthcare, the vibrancy and accomplishments of Bharat's young generation underscores why our youth are crucial for the national development. Beyond national development, this youthful energy also has a powerful role to play internationally. India and Asean countries are not only bounded by geography, but also by deep cultural and civilizational linkages. Strengthening cultural exchanges and student exchange programs between our countries can harness these shared roots to create a stronger future. When young people from across our nations learn together, innovate together, and experience each other's societies firsthand, they will generate fresh ideas, joint enterprises, and long-lasting friendships that strengthen our region. Earlier in our discussion, I mentioned that the median age of our country is around 28 years. Despite this, the average age of the Lok Sabha is double the same at 56 years. Only 19 out of 542 are below the 35. That is barely 3.5%. In other words, the House representing the people largely consists of middle-aged individuals. The old guard image is common. When people hear politics, they often think about older individuals like, for example, if you would take our cabinet minister, Shri Ram Mohan Naidu ji, is the only under 40 individual under 40 years of age in the entire cabinet. There's a striking gap between the youthfulness of the nation and the age of representatives. It is therefore vital to bring more young leaders into politics. Youthful politicians trend to be more attentive to modern issues and future challenges. They can inject fresh ideas such as pushing for digital governance, entrepreneurship support, or climate action areas that directly affect their generation. Having a range of age groups also make policies more inclusive. In contrast, a lack of youth participation often means slow adaptation to change. Other nations provide useful examples. Many developed have comparatively younger lawmakers. Denmark's parliament, for instance, has an average MP age about 45 years. German Bundestag averages about 45, and Philippines now has a quarter of its representatives under 45, reflecting efforts to include young leaders. These countries benefit from vibrant debates and new policy driven by younger legislators. By contrast, India's highest average age in politics suggests lost opportunities. But I also want to share a personal reflection here. My own journey in the politics has not been without setbacks, as I have lost an election before. Success in public life is like any other field, does not come overnight. The path is long and often difficult, but it is a path worth traversing, especially for young people who want to build our nation. It is not enough to sit on the sidelines, yet today, youth must question and criticize, but they also step forward with ideas and solutions. As today's leaders are laying out long-term plans for Vikasit Bharat, it is the youth who must carry them forward and build upon them. If each one of us takes responsibility, whether in politics, entrepreneurship, science, or social causes, we must ensure that India's future is not secure, but brighter than ever. Many of our nation leaders have shown the privilege our family's name is not only the route to leadership. Our Prime Minister, who was once worked as a tea seller, rose to become to the leader of our country. Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam, a scientist from a small village, went on to become the President of India. Their journeys remind us that with sheer efforts, dedication, and resilience, one can reach to the highest position in public life. This is just a message our youth must take forward. And that backgrounds does not define their destiny, their hard work and vision will. And as we reflect on this truth, let us remember the legacy of a generation is written by the boldness of its youth. Thank you.
Thank you, Harish Ji, for that passionate appeal for more youngsters to be given opportunities in politics. As he rightly said, in India that number is growing. We want more and more youngsters to come forward and play important roles in at different levels. But at the same time, we also want age and experience to guide Indian politics. Both should go together, whether in Andhra Pradesh or at the national level. May I now request Hemang to share his thoughts.
Namaskar. A very good evening to everyone. To the esteemed leadership of India Foundation, Honorable Ram Madhav ji, all the distinguished guests, and the team of Asean Foundation, all the respected ambassadors and the delegations. Importantly, to all the 107 bright young leaders who represent the future of India and Southeast Asia. It is a profound honor to stand before you today. Gathered here in the magnificent state of Goa, a land that has for centuries been a crossroads of culture, I can feel the incredible energy in this room. It is the energy of aspiration, the spirit of innovation, and the pulse of generation ready to lead. Looking as all of you, I am not just seeing leaders of tomorrow, but I am also seeing the partners and shapers of today. Our theme, Connecting the Youth, Shaping Our Future, is the living story of the India-ASEAN relationship. This is not a bond forged in recent decades. It is a relationship with roots stretching back millennia. It is a connection woven from the threads of culture, philosophy, and commerce that have crisscrossed the Indian Ocean for centuries. From the shared values of Hinduism and Buddhism that shaped our societies to the spiritual resonance of Ramayana that echoes across this vast region and the architectural splendor of Angkor Wat, originally one of the world's largest Hindu temples, our civilization ties are deep, profound, and unbreakable. The ancient bond has now been reimagined by our Honorable Prime Minister Shri Narendra Modi into a comprehensive strategic partnership. Anchored in India's Act East policy, our partnership has driven our bilateral trade to over 120 billion in the past year. And we are working to deepen it further with the timely review of our ASEAN-India trade in goods agreement. But our greatest asset is not just our economy, it is our demography. With more than 60% of our population under the age of 35, we possess a demographic dividend that is the envy of the world. You are the engine of this dividend. We are also rebuilding our ancient bridges of knowledge. The revival of Nalanda University, a global center of learning for centuries, stands as a powerful symbol of this. Through dedicated scholarship for ASEAN students, we are inviting you to be a part of this legacy and to forge new intellectual partnerships for the 21st century. I was recently reminded of the depth of our connection during my visit to Indonesia, Singapore, and Malaysia as a part of all-party parliamentary delegation under Operation Sindoor. We were there to share India's unwavering resolve against terrorism, and in every meeting, I was struck by the shared understanding of the common desire for a peaceful, stable, and prosperous Indo-Pacific. That visit also highlighted the shared challenges we face. Forces of counter-border terrorism and radicalization seek to divide us. These are not only one country's problems, they are our collective challenges. As young leaders, build assumptions and create the future you wish to see. On the frontiers of space and in the depths of our oceans, build that future with courage, collaboration, and with a shared sense of purpose. One more thing I want to add about my own journey. Before 23rd March 2024, I was a working HR professional in a US multinational company and a working activist of a party called Bharatiya Janata Party. Our Prime Minister has taken a vow to bring 1 lakh such young politicians who doesn't have any kind of a family background with politics. And I'm proud of it that I am also one of its product, that on 24th March 2024, my name was announced as an MP candidate. I resigned from the post from a US multinational, and now I'm doing a job of an MP in Indian Parliament. So it can only happen in a country like India. And together I want to tell all of you that you never know what the destiny has plans for you. But whenever it makes some plans, you should be ready. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Hemang ji, for also adding that personal touch to your presentation, although your presentation emphasized on need for upholding peace and opposing all forms of terror. You all know that India strongly opposes any form of terrorism, but also ASEAN as a group has a firm stand against terror, any form of terror, any type of terror anywhere in the world. ASEAN also has strongly resolved several times to oppose terrorism. We are happy that you highlighted that one common area where India and ASEAN share same sentiments. Thank you, Hemang ji. Now, may I request Yaduvir ji?
Ladies and gentlemen, a very good evening to you all. My gratitude to Shri Madhav ji and the India Foundation for inviting me here to this wonderful conference and to be part of this wonderful summit with my colleagues here. I can't think of a greater honor. Ladies and gentlemen, my colleagues have already shared many of the sentiments that I wanted to echo today, so I will straight away dive in to a small little personal journey of my own, and I think in many ways that echoes the challenges we face in this Asia-India partnership going forward. Shri Ram Madhavji has already mentioned that I come from a erstwhile royal family, a former princely state of India down south in Mysore. It has a 600-year-old documented history and a 400-year-old history of conducting the Dasra festivities, which will start very much within the next 25 odd days. While coming into this royal household at 2015, I was only 23 years old. And at the time, I was surrounded by, as even in my political journey, many elders. You're thrust right into a leadership position while being extremely young. So you are asked to pull from the front when you are obviously needing to be pushing from behind. And this was the challenge I think we all face as youth in our parliament today. The issue isn't about representation, the issue isn't about how much youth we have as a dividend in our collective countries here, but rather how we take that completely and utilize it, leverage it towards building what is a better tomorrow. As you all know, we both share a very ancient history. The Ramayana, that is generally, the text of it happened across pan-India, is now a spiritual journey that all of us take part in every day when we recite the Ramkatha. Buddhism, spiritual, the entirety of its spiritual innovation and the spiritual journey of Buddha, which we all adhere to, is extended far more perhaps in the Asean countries than India itself currently. These aspects are what we want to leverage going forward. Our maritime exchanges have shaped our art, architecture, and traditions that have endured even today. And this deep civilizational link is what gives us the natural foundation for a modern collaboration. My colleagues have already mentioned about our Prime Minister's Act East policy, and this policy builds on this ancient tradition. I'm sure all of you have already heard our Prime Minister many times mention Sabka Saath, Sabka Vikas, but he also adds the Sabka Virasat, which is our joint heritage in building this complete economic development of India. And this aspect should be extended across ASEAN countries in our partnership with India, because that is our collective advantage when we stand amongst the world. We are a very young population. We represent the largest youth bloc in the world, but at the same time, we represent what is the oldest, perhaps, ancient legacy that this world has to offer. We seek in this Act East policy not only trade and strategic cooperation, but also partnership in education, culture, tourism, and youth mobility. Scholarships, student exchanges, cultural festivals, and youth summits like this one are part of ensuring that our young people inherit a region of trust, opportunity, and shared prosperity. With both ASEAN and India enjoying the advantage of youthful populations, the responsibility before us is clear: to challenge this energy into innovation, entrepreneurship, digital connectivity, and sustainable development. By connecting our youth, we are not only preparing for the future, we are shaping a common destiny for all our regions. With these words, I leave the floor open for our communication and the continued collaboration that we will have going forward. I look forward to the many interactions that we'll have. Once again, my many thanks for the wonderful hospitality and having us all here. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Yadvirji, for that brief, short, but very important message of our common heritage and how we can understand each other and march forward together. And he mentioned about the annual Dasra festival that happens in a very traditional way. It has been happening for centuries in the royal kingdom of Mysore, but today, even in a normal democratic setup also, that festival continues with the same gaiety, same grandeur, and something that whenever people get an opportunity, like friends get an opportunity from ASEAN countries, you should come to Mysuru during that festival time to see that grandeur, to see that great festivity, it has to be seen to be believed. So thank you. And with that, now I will open this session to interaction between the delegates and the three MPs. The MPs generally in the parliament, they are the ones who ask questions. But here they have to answer questions. So floor is now open to delegates. If any delegate wants to ask anything, please raise your hand and mic will come to you. A quick introduction before you ask the question.
Yes. Hello. Thank you for the very insightful session. My name is Margianta, and I'm from Indonesia. So basically, my question is very simple. Do you have any tips for young leaders who would like to be young politicians here yourself? Because in my country, there's a lot of apathy, and they don't trust politics. But actually, I want to announce in this forum that I'm planning to run for office. Because who else will do it, right? Someone else has to take that. And I think staying out of the system, it's not real, you can do that, but I would like to be one of the inside. So do you have any tips on fundraising, on organizing, on canvassing, on everything? Because recently I've learned a lot from, for example, Zoran Mamdani, right? In New York. I'm not even American or New Yorker, but I want him to be my mayor. And seeing a lot of progressive young politicians really inspired me. So do you have any tips on starting out?
Thank you.
That's
Thank
my question.
You. We will take one more or two more questions, then I will ask them to answer. Yes, please. Mike piche do.
Good afternoon. My name is Edwin, and I'm from. Oh, is there another question?
Oh, this side. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah,
Then next you. Yeah. Yeah, go ahead.
My name is Edwin. I'm from Malaysia in the think tank sector. So I actually written this question when the three extraordinary speeches were being given. I think generally from a political party point of view, we can say that there's a relative dilemma between the change of old guards and introduction of new faces. From your perspective, should this leadership transition be a bit more gradual or a bit more disruptive and reformist? Yeah, that's my question. Thank you.
Okay, third.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Maximilian from Singapore. I'm an incoming engineering student at the National University of Singapore. It's an honor to meet you today, MPs. My question to you is this. We've seen a lot of unpopular career politicians recently. One of that is the Canadian opposition leader, Mr. Pierre Poilievre, who actually lost his seat in a seat which he had held for many years, and he lost it. Now, do you think that being a career politician is a good idea in this day, given that many people think that career politicians don't have any real work experience? Thank you.
Okay. So we have three questions. Any question, any one of you, first question about any tips that you want to give to aspiring politicians. Second question was whether this transition from old to young should happen gradually or suddenly you push youngsters who have no experience into politics. And third is career politics. Is it a right politics? Politics should be seen as a career or it is more than a career? Anybody? You have a mic there? Yes. Harish,
You want to take the first one? You can. It's more than my line. So I just want to, such an interesting question that you have put forward. But then one certain aspect that, when you want to become a politician, you have to set your goals straight. That is your main objective. When you have your goal and you're focusing on achieving your goal, that is something that you can stick by and you can really, you'll be able to achieve it as well as you can become a politician. So this is the first agenda that you need to set up. Because for my own example, I just want to take my own situation. My father was a politician and during the time of 98 onwards till 2002. And his sudden demise in 2002 due to a helicopter accident, we as a family, we could not, take it up forward because at that point of time, we were at a very young age. My mother actually stood for the by-elections, and then she won. But then after that, we kind of stepped away from politics altogether. So I was still at my early age. And after that, I have come back to politics in 2019. And that's the first time I contested as a member of parliament. I got the opportunity being given by my chief minister. But when I stood for the elections in 2019, I lost by 36,000 votes. And people started questioning, saying that, there were a lot of questions, there were a lot of concerns saying that, okay, you're from such a stalwart leader, son, and then you lost your elections. But these kind of disturbances and all of these, you have to put it aside and you have to look at the bigger picture. So from 2019 to 2024, I have worked on the ground. I have started understanding what the people were willing to, what were they asking from me? What were they looking in their leader to be? And I have made those changes. I have adapted to those changes. And in this 5 years, we have transformed in such a way that in 2024, when we stood for the elections, I have won with a margin of 4,23,000. So that's a huge margin of a transformation that from 2019 to 2024. But the only thing which kind of set me on focus is my goal, that I really wanted to bring a change. I wanted to make sure that I wanted to own up to those people. I have given them the promise that I will bring a change to my parliament. And that is how I was able to become a politician. And right now, it keeps continuing. The change keeps going on and on. As a young parliamentarian, you have to adapt to change. And you have to bring more innovative ideas. And I think these are the stepping areas that you have to keep your primary focus on. First is set your goal, and then start working towards it. Thank you.
Thank you.
So, before I answer a few of the questions, I want to give it a disclaimer that not only every country, but also every constituency has its own dynamics. Okay, so what is applied on me, it doesn't matter, it doesn't mean that it will apply in Yaduvir Bhai's constituency also. Same goes for the country, but whatever answer we'll give, it will be more kind of a generalistic so that it is very much useful to it. First of all, a big round of applause for you that you declared that you wish to run for office. Usually in Indian politics, if some young person announces it this way, then there will be a syndicate behind him to make sure that it doesn't, win any kind of an election. So it's so brave of you. But there is one quote our Honorable Prime Minister told for youth in a podcast that never run behind becoming something. Work for doing something, and automatically you will become something. So this is a very important thing. Any youth should keep it in mind, that we just keep doing good for the society. I don't know what are the issues in your particular constituency or country, but keep working on it. It will help you. People will start seeing you as your leader because you are working hard to solve that particular problem. So we always think about doing something rather than becoming something, and that becoming will be a byproduct of our hard work. This is what I believe. So this is the most important thing. About career politicians, what I think is we need to be more kind of an activist rather than politics. Sometimes also people and our friends will tell you that I hate politics. You might have heard this statement from your friends or relatives. But remember, those who delivers this statement that I hate politics, they are the biggest politicians in the world. So you need to understand that. About the transition, I think it is more depending on the organization. Whether it will be an easier one or a difficult one, or a shorter one or a longer one, it depends on a particular organization culture. when they decide to give baton to any young person to move ahead? Thank you.
I think obviously my case in terms of a political leader is particularly unique because obviously you leveraged a family's good work towards asking for votes to represent and perhaps recreate that good work in my term. But I have always adhered to the principle that we have to become leaders at home. If you can unite your own household going forward, I think that is the first start that you want to take. And that extends from the house to your street, to your layout, to then perhaps your ward, and then so on and so forth till you can all the way come up to whatever is the highest level of leadership. So starting at home, it's as simple as making your own bed. If you can take responsibility for your own actions, that's how you become a leader. So in my case as well, it started very similarly there. We have a multitude of issues which we look at from what is our legacy, and solving and understanding those issues within the Mysore heritage, not particularly personally, but which was part of Mysore city and then Mysore state. And being a part of that voice allowed me to understand what is being a leader. And I think when you can unite a certain section or a certain mass of the constituents within your constituency or within your state or whatever you are looking to represent, that is the first step, I think, that we take towards being leaders. And as far as, of course, politicians, I don't think the opinion on politicians is going to change anytime soon. But by taking that stance of you coming forward, I think in the future, perhaps we can change that. And I think that is the main reason why we have so much of a continued endearment towards people entering politics. And I hope that people such as yourself and all of us coming here can change that narrative so it isn't looked at so negatively. And especially, I don't think there is a country in the world where anybody considers any politician to be a good politician. So I think that is the first step. And I think you coming on stage and taking that, or rather aspiring to become a politician, is, I think, the first step towards changing that narrative. As far as the aspect of whether we should shock the system or gradually improve it, I don't think there's anything better than a good shock in your own personal life or for a system to reset it and rewire it, or at least re-engineer it towards going in the right path. So I'm always in favor of rewiring something immediately when there is an issue, and I don't think there's anything better than a shock to a system for us towards moving forward in a more rapid rate. And evolution and science also dictates the same, and it is the same for our political system as well. Thank you.
Thank you. So one important message from all three was that politics should not be seen as a career or a profession. It should be a mission and a passion. Remember that. Okay, we can go for another round. Yes. You, that girl? Yes.
Hello, sir. Hello, everyone. Myself, Astha. I study in Pondicherry University. So, sir, this is a question not only from me, many of the girls in the country. Till today, why parents don't let their girl child to enter into politics? As sir said, maybe as a mission or a vision or a career. Ladki hai, kichad mein mat jaya, the word that we hear. So when is this perception going to change, sir? Because I am someone who always wanted to join politics, but my family never let me. So yeah, this is something really concerning. So we need to change this. So how can this change?
India had one prime minister and 3 presidents as women as, but yes, it's an important question. Yes. Any other questions? Someone raised his hands this side. Okay, go ahead.
Namaste sir, I'm Alok Tiwari. I work as program manager at Rishi Hood University. My question is not on the lines of politics, but from the lines of geopolitics. So the influence of China in the Indo-Pacific region is something which is a growing concern for both India as well as some of the countries of the ASEAN region. What role or how the parliamentarians from India as well as ASEAN countries could probably work on this to tackle the growing influence of China in the Indo-Pacific region. So something on those lines. Thank you.
There is no need for all three to have same opinion, so you can talk to them privately. Yes. Anybody else has any questions? Yes, please.
Hi, good evening. I'm Gab from the Philippines. I would like to ask, in the previous election in the Philippines, I have friends who run for local elections, but they lost the race because there are strong contenders running for public office. So what are the strategies that the youth can do in order for them to win a position in a local position or even in the national level, despite the lack of resources and machineries that other candidates or any other influential politicians they have? Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Want to say anything? Any of you? China question छोड़ के बाकी. I think we started from right. Start from there.
Well, as far as the challenge that youth face in elections, I think particularly for me, going up against people who had been entrenched in the system for a lot longer, knew how to conduct an election, had more knowledge about electioneering. The challenge was obviously, while being thrown into the deep end, understanding the system immediately, because up till the day I started my electoral, or rather my life as a politician, the very first day I faced a Lok Sabha election. So obviously you were thrown in right into the deep end, and learning that within a very limited time and executing along that was the most important part. But I think the values that helped me win or endear myself to the population that voted for me was essentially that I was here to be a collaborator, I was here to endear myself to them, and I was here to make sure that the promises that we gave in my constituency, and I'm sure what our Prime Minister gave on the national stage, would be looked into while going forward. And that essentially that behavior, that we're not here to upset anyone or insult anyone, but here for a joint collaboration in building the Viksit Bharat of what our Prime Minister has dreamed of in 2047 and wants to make it a reality, is one that we jointly collaborate in and requires a joint collaboration going forward. And that was essentially my stance, and that is what helped me endear myself to my population or my voters in my particular case. If the first question, I believe it was about the women participation. It's obviously quite a complicated thing because Rajri politics is a male arena and a masculine arena, but we obviously need the other half representing and bringing their side of the story and their side of the aspirations within Parliament, and credit to our Prime Minister for, of course, bringing in the bill that ensures 33% reservation for women across politics. So from the Lok Sabha to all of the upper house as well, all across the board to our local state houses as well, which will ensure that there is women representation. And I'm sure that in the future, that will naturally translate to greater women representation from a natural standpoint, not just because we're giving them representation. I think that is a step in the right direction. And we also must encourage, I think, our newer population going forward, that women play as important a role as they take up now the challenges of being in a career role while maintaining that traditional aspect of Indian household or homemakers as well.
Yeah, so couple of good questions. For the first question, participation of women, I think Yaduvir Bhai already mentioned the bill introduced by our Honorable Prime Minister Narendra Modi ji, Nari Shakti Vandan Adhiniyam. I would like to urge all the delegation to go through the summary of this bill. I'll again spell it, Nari Shakti Vandan Adhiniyam. And this bill is for 33% participation of women in Parliament of India. When he was a Chief Minister of Gujarat, Honorable Narendra Modi ji, he put it for 50% reservation in the local body elections for women. So I think the legislative reforms in India are working on bringing more and more women leadership in the front line, but we also need some community efforts. There we need to work more on it. Our Indian delegate told in Hindi that it is going to sending our girl from a family for politics. It's like sending someone to play with mud. So for the benefit of all, but what I believe is to clean the mud, we need to play with the mud. But when we are playing with the mud, we should not start liking the mud. We should know in our mind that we are here for cleaning the mud. So if that thing, we will stick on that purpose, I think it will help us on how an independent candidate, without any kind of much of resources and influential circle, how they can survive is if they have a proper mission in mind, and if the constituency they are representing, the society they are working, they are able to identify the intent with which a particular person is working. Because in India, we don't have all the politicians are from a particular party. We have few of the independent candidates. They run for election and they also even win an election. So all the resources, money power, muscle power is not the everything we need to fight an election. We really need that someone is working for a pious purpose in a very clean way, and if people recognize that, people elect them. So I think that thing will help you for your question. Thanks.
Okay. So I think as my colleagues have mentioned about how government of India has taken policies and reforms to get more women participation in politics, as well as if you notice, as the summit right now, we are already here, we're speaking about youth participation in politics. In a similar fashion, we always believe that women participation should be equal. Now, the government of India is taking up all the newer reforms to make the reservation so that there'll be more participation from the women aspect, because the whole purpose is to get a different perspective, a newer ideas, and newer ways to, assess the situation. And coming to it, I think they have spoken a lot about it, so I will not go further dive down into that particular subject. But I'll tell you that the governments have to take up more action-oriented to make sure that there's a lot of positions available for women so that they will be able to participate in it. But then when it's coming to getting your parents to approve it, that is completely on your own. That is something that you have to convince them and come forward into politics. Now also there was another question with respect to, you were speaking about, how do I stand up to a more stronger candidate? Or how do I face up to him and how do I win? But here, there's one key element that you're missing out. The one thing is that, today you might lose, but then you should understand is that, this is a long term, and every time you have to make it a point to stand up. Maybe today you might not win. Maybe the first time election would be something different, but then you should understand what type of an impact you brought ahead. That is something that you have to analyze, understand, and take it forward and decide in the next upcoming elections, how do I convert that into a winning milestone? So what I would really want to suggest you is, it's not basically just the first time elections and understand from it that, if I have lost, that is the end to my career. You have to understand in such a perspective that, no, I have to keep going forward in this decision, and definitely after multiple failures or maybe after a single failure, you will definitely succeed and you will be able to fill in that position as long as you keep yourself focused and determination to achieve that goal. Thank you.
Great. As far as women in politics is concerned, South Asia, that includes India, and ASEAN, present actually a better picture than the so-called Western powers. I mean, we have almost a majority of the ASEAN countries have had senior women leaders as presidents, prime ministers, speakers. Vietnam had a woman as speaker, and in Philippines, in Indonesia, in Singapore had a president, a woman as president. So all of us have presented a better picture. By the way, we all know that in its 250-year democratic journey, the United States of America could not have a single woman president until now. But that's not the history of many of our countries. We have a lot of progress to make, but women have good opportunities in all our countries. Any more questions? If not, we can, yes, please. This is the last round. Yes, one here and one on the right corner table. Yeah, please go ahead.
Good evening. My name is Martin from the Philippines. So youth in politics today faces tension between national loyalty and global responsibility. For example, a young MP such as yourself might be defending or pressured to defend their country's coal industry for jobs and economic growth, but at the same time, while global climate agreements demand phasing out fossil fuels, for example. Another example of that is a government restricts press freedom for security purposes, but at the same time, human rights conventions protects dissent from all states. So the question is, should young leaders prioritize serving the immediate interests of their nation or align themselves with global causes like climate change or human rights, even if it means challenging the government's position?
Tricky question for you all. Party politics versus global challenges. Okay, we will take one more last question. Yes.
Okay, thank you for inviting me. My name is Đức. I'm from Vietnam, and I have two questions from me and my friend here with me. The first one is that what do you think about the opinion that politicians nowadays are much like businessmen, and what impacts of that trend? And the second one is that since I know that my question is the last one, so it's a bit conclusive. So through your election running experience, what advice do you have for young people who want to be leaders, not just in the political sphere, but also in other fields, such as business and scholars? Thank you so much.
I couldn't get your first question though. Could you repeat your first question?
Okay. What do you think about the opinion that politicians nowadays are much like businessmen, business people? And what kind of impacts do you think that change will lead to?
Anybody understood? No, that was the second question.
What impact of that change?
Okay. Yeah, please, last. If it is written, can you get that question? If it is written, have you noted it down, your question?
No, my questions. Okay.
Just give it. You have it, no? Yes, please.
Okay, so thank you. My name is Sopanya from Cambodia. Before my question, that I think now
Closer to your...
Yeah, we are talking about the politician and about the role of the politician. But just only my opinion, I think politics is not very seriously like what, seriously. It is very quite simple, and what we do and what we serve the people and what we make ourselves to be engaged with people. Not more deeply and seriously, just only my thinking. For my question, as you are the parliament members and also the ASEAN Foundation also. So you already know about now in the contextual of the digitalization. So more of the people, especially for the young generation, they are very quite deeply within the digitalization, within the scientific. So within this, as the India is one of the country of the born of the Buddhas. So within this, what is your idea and what is your strategy how to strengthen about the philosophy of the Buddha among the young generation? Because the Buddhist theory is more deeply and sharply on the philosophy. So philosophy is sometimes is very quite different from the scientific. So the young generation, sometimes they are more deeply within the digital, within the scientific. So sometimes they will lost within the philosophy of the Buddhas. So it will be the dangerous and quite thinking on how that we can keep the movement and the sustainability of the Buddhas among the young generation. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Science or religion? Okay. So, through your elections running, you have any advice for youngsters who want to be leaders, not just in politics, but also in other fields? That's one. What do you think about the opinion that politicians nowadays are more like businessmen, and what impact of the trend?
Now it got quite interesting.
Also that important question, government policies and global priorities.
So I'll take the first question. I'll leave the rest to my fellow colleagues. With respect to, can I just have that paper, sir? So you believe that, you know, politicians are nowadays look more or less like a businessman. Is it so? Can I have the mic back to him also one more time? I would just like to interact with him.
Actually, I was asking on behalf of my college here.
You were asking behalf of your colleague. No problem.
Sorry? Can
Yes.
you hear me? Yes.
So you feel that politicians are more of like a businessmen?
That's not my opinion, but like there's a view that's going on these days about how...
That's your view?
Yes, about how policy makers doing policies like businessmen. It can be like the progress of when you create a regulation, it will be quicker and like you skip a lot of steps in the progress. That's what I mean.
So when it comes to, you know, politicians, they have a set agenda for, you know, to serve the people. And we always believe that, you know, that is our number one priority. When it comes to our reforms or our policies also, is to make sure that we bring in more upliftment from the rural background. We want to bring in more opportunities. If you look at the government of India, the way we are, you know, bringing in policy or reforms with respect to younger generations, giving them opportunities to get internships in top 500, Fortune 500 companies, is to get them educated and try to make sure that we will bring out the full potentiality of them. And that is the major area of concern. We're doing it across all the paradigms. We're not only sticking with the youth, but even with the women perspective also. We want to encourage women to be more participation in workforce, and we're making that environment more feasible. There were more traditional mindsets of people that, you know, women cannot be enforced into work labor, but now we are changing all of those aspects. So we always think about, you know, looking at the challenges that we are currently facing. We understand we take the perspectiveness from the people, and that's how we start building our reforms and policies around it. So that is the way that we go forward about it. And we intend to keep it on that focus driven, and we will always make sure that that is our number one priority on that aspect. As well as, then you were talking about young, same question, sir. So when it comes to the young entrepreneurs on in various aspects, I have taken one particular example about people like Mr. The Rapido owner. So he had multiple failures. So there are many entrepreneurs who are of young age. But then, though they face a lot of failures in life, but they keep themselves strive to their goal. That is how they start building, and they start building and they'll be able to achieve it. So my whole concern is that I always, whenever I have to speak to younger generation, I kind of make it a point that when you have set your goal, work for it. Always keep yourself focused on it. It was always that the younger generation always get lost in all of the deviations. So all of the unnecessary deviations which come in the way, which kind of try to pull you down. But you always have to remove that noise and always look at the bigger picture. That is my always a message to the younger generation, that you always have to keep your focus on it. And when you keep your focus on on your goal, that is when you'll be able to achieve it. And that is something that all of you people over here is a message that I would want to take it to you guys. And I'm hoping that I'll answered your question. Otherwise, you could have asked me a follow-up on it. I wouldn't mind to answer back.
No. In Parliament, question and answer need not be
Maybe in the Parliament it's not that, sir, but then here we can.
I think I'm well placed to answer the first question from two aspects within my constituency, because the rural part of Mysore is most famous for growing tobacco. In fact, the finest tobacco, Virginia tobacco, we grow in Mysore, alongside Guntur, of course, in Andhra Pradesh. And obviously, tobacco being largely in the world, and then according to WHO norms, is a sin good after it's processed into cigarettes and whatever other forms it is there. But obviously the challenge is, there is no other crop that is going to give the benefit to the farmer that what Virginia tobacco gives. The rates that he gets from what is a commercial crop is nowhere even close to what he's going to get from any other crop. It's excessively higher. So obviously he is going to grow the tobacco. But the problem lies in the fact that we are limited to a particular cap, and we cannot exceed that cap. And within that cap, it is limited to license holding farmers. So obviously, if you give more licenses, then the amount they can grow comes down, and the rate at which they get, or the income they get, goes down automatically, because that cap of 100 million tons is there. So how do you place yourself as a responsible representative of those farmers, but at the same time understanding the harm that the finished product of tobacco causes for society at large in your country and on the global stage as well? And there are no easy answers to this, because at the end of the day, I have to take care of my farmers and understand that their livelihood depends on this. But at the same time, I have to balance it out, understanding of the ill effects that society is facing from the growing of tobacco. And it's not so simple as changing them over to some other crop, because we've tried that with growing mushrooms in their barns where they process the tobaccos. We've tried putting them onto other crops, and of course they do it out of that, out of the promotion that we do from a government. But again, that is all subsidized, as opposed to tobacco, which requires no subsidy. So there is no easy and fast answer, but you have to understand that you are every day balancing that act going forward. And I have a similar issue in Kodagu as well, where obviously there is man-animal conflict on a daily basis. How do I understand that the coffee estate and the wildlife have to coexist? And how do I make the farmer in the tobacco growing region and the coffee grower in Kodagu understand that we have to live in a world that is rapidly changing, but at the same time has to adhere to a certain set of norms that is placed upon them going forward? So there's no easy answers to it, but what I find is a daily balance. It's a daily firefighting ritual for us, and we continually do that in order to make them understand and also move forward in a more productive way. In the case of Kodagu, it has been through creating, putting in cameras everywhere to ensure that the region where the elephants are, they don't do any coffee picking there, and they move to another area, and then they come back to that area when the elephants have moved. There are rangers actively patrolling and ensuring that they are being mindful of the animals. And in the case of the tobacco, we've had many awareness camps on alternative cropping, and we are now introducing, of course, what is the new, largely in this budget which came out, all of the shrimp and the producing factors there, given the large amount of water bodies, to take that advantage as well going forward, the freshwater shrimp and the fish as well. So it's a slow process of changing over, but also a daily balance of understanding the larger picture and the larger responsibility we have, but at the same time, not bending to local pressures as well.
So firstly, on the question of this Buddhist philosophy, what I believe is it is very important for a youth to keep them anchored in things of national development and self-development. And nowadays, there are a lot of things are there already in their service to distract them. And at that level, there are few community initiatives and few can be a legislative reforms which can help it. For example, currently in our parliament, there was a national sports governance bill was introduced. Earlier when we were students in our school, our parents were like, don't play, study. And nowadays parent has to push their children out of the mobile, that don't, study, go play. So that kind of a change has happened in India. And I believe everywhere this kind of scenario might be there. But now from national level to block level in our country, there is a policy in place where there kind of a compulsory game, sports activities has to be there in schools to universities. And other philosophical thing if we ponder on, that is our yoga. Yoga practice has also increased now, not just nationwide, it's worldwide. When we went for Operation Sindoor, our trip was around International Day of Yoga, and we heard how Singapore is planning for yoga, how Japan was planning for yoga, how Indonesia is planning for yoga. And there was a very great acceptance for yoga and mindfulness. It is also an Indian philosophy, a Buddhist philosophy, which is now the world is accepting. For a message for a young leader, I think it is also kind of a very similar to the Buddhist philosophy. First, if people are seeing us as a businessman, firstly, we need to sometimes leave our aristocracy. Besides, when we, close to 1 million people has voted for me. And now if they see me as larger than life figure, if that is the scenario, then there will be a gradual disconnect and someone will fill my place with them. So we need to be very much closer to them. Whenever we meet them, they should feel that he is our own member of parliament, is our own family member. And overall, for all the countries, we really need to, my last message for young leaders is, we need to move out from Tinder and TikTok to X and LinkedIn. Then and then only it will help us to develop ourselves and develop the societies around. Thank you.
Thank you. So that brings us to the end of this very, very engaging and very interactive session with our young leaders, young parliamentarians. One very important take-home message from this last round of questions was, for any leader, political, business, or any leader, the message is, strive to succeed, but dare to fail. Those who are scared of failure can never aspire to succeed. Failures, they say, are footsteps for success. So that is one message that we take from all these people. One good round of applause to our young leaders on the dais. And I hand it over for closing formalities.
This was indeed an interactive and insightful session. And may I now request Dr. Rupa Vasudevan, Chancellor, Best University, to felicitate our speakers.